Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fatika Lida binti Kamaruddin and my metric numbers is 268068, and today I'm going to present to you guys about persuasive speech, and my title is drunk driving. Have you ever imagined one day you have a wonderful day, like you just came back from your sibling graduation or family trip, and suddenly there's irresponsible drunk driver hits your car and causes injury, or even worse is death? You might think that this situation is impossible happen to your life, but did you know the reality is this incident of death because of intoxicate while driving is increasing in our country, Malaysia. Before we jump into this topic, I would like to tell to you guys what drunk driving mean by. Drunk driving is defined when someone is intoxicated and drive a vehicle that their blood alcohol concentration, or known as BAC, level is above the legal permitted limit by government. Driving under the influence of alcohol will increasing the risk of car accidents and will bring to serious injury or death either to yourself or victims. Drink and driving are the serious deadliest crime that ever happened in the world. Recently in Malaysia, news is filled with news of the death victim that causes by drink driving accidents. It seems like every day we receive news from a local newspaper that someone lost their life because of those irresponsible criminals of drinking and driving. Statement above prove that we have to urge the government to stricter our laws because people just doesn't take this issue seriously and heavily. There are three reasons why drunk driving laws should be stricter by the Malaysia government. Today, I would like to persuade my audience that drunk driving laws should be stricter by Malaysia government. Let's begin by talking about why government should be stringent the drunk driving laws. Firstly, the statistic of drunk drivers accident is increasing. The fact is, drunk drivers is harming people and property is increasing, but somehow doesn't affect government and people mind, making me want to speak out about this problem. In World Statistic Report, at least 4 million of person in world has encountered driven drunk once in their life. This research is made by Department of Transportation in United States. In other research that made by Sbe stated that drunk driver is increasing 1 million arrests and charged each year, and also one of the most common crime that committed by the United States citizen. Even though Malaysia is not listed in the world's worst countries for drunk driving, it's still bad enough in our country, which the fatalities on the road are not decreasing the pattern since 2006 until 2017. In other statistics that made by experts in Malaysia is, in 2010 to 2018, shown by the graph that were 2,364 accidents relate intoxicate while driving and fatalities that cost about 1,196 people. Malaysia is one of high rate of drink driving accidents. Did you know that our country is listed and mentioned by the World Health Organization or WHO that record high rate of drink driving accidents? Few months ago, there's about 316 that intoxicate while driving is being caught by authorities because of drunk driving. Not just that, for the record, Malaysia drivers in 2019 about 919 people, and in 2018 862 people is caught by authorities because of driving under influence. As we can see, the drunk driving crime in Malaysia is not decreasing but fear rising every year. The alternative on drunk driving to curb the drunk driving criminals is by enforcing and conducting an operation that names by Oops Mabuk nationwide. In the past 2 months of Our number of injury and death rising because of drunk drivers make me believe government need to step up their game by stricter the law. Furthermore, drunk driving causes many deaths and damage. One of the most serious crimes that brings to driving fault is causing fatalities because of the intoxicated while driving. In US record, exposed that statistic that annually 12,000 people die because of drunk driver accidents. The criminals that convicted a drunk driver accident is arrested by authorities that stated more than 900,000 every year. Meanwhile, Malaysia experts say that on the average of this incident has made about 132 people that kill yearly or one person killed by drunk driver in every 3 days. In February 2020, news of the fatal crash because of drunken drivers made 5 orphan siblings a victim of a black tragedy that claimed their parents' life. Nur Afni Nirwani Khairuzul, the age is 16, and her 4 siblings Nur Istana, Nur Erna, Nur Qurratu Ain, and Muhammad Khairi Zafran did not expect to lose their 2 most loved ones after a motorcycle accident on which their parents were hit by a drunk driver. Before drinking and driving, the person who behind the wheel need to think wisely about what harm you will causes either to yourself or other people, like that cases I mentioned before. Those deaths because of driving under influence make other people suffer because of your foolishness. Even though the offender get a fair punishment, the victim of that cases will be suffered with consequences like lifetime disability or loss a loved one. Sometimes the family members will experience problems like mental illness that causes suicide thought because of trauma and loss of loved one and a financial problem. Next, intoxicated while driving will causes building and infrastructure damages. Many people didn't realize that drunk driving will affect others' building and property into damages. Accidents will bring hazard to others' driver, pedestrians, cyclists, and people who inside the building. Property like historical building or building that built more than decades that destroy absolutely heartbreaking and causes people madness because the building is very meaningful to them. Damages that causes by drunk driving will be expensive, and although insurance company will cover the cost, like New Mexico law, insurance company are not fully responsible cover the damages that causes by the drunk driver. These damages will bring many consequences either for you or the victims, because even though the damages covered by insurance costs, you still will face a lawsuit. And for my last point, penalty that imposed in Malaysia is not too strict. Because of the penalty is not too strict, people keep violating the law and close one's eyes, although these people get the public awareness, warning, education programs, penalties, and imprisonment. The Malaysia Institute of Road Safety Research by Mirrors 2012 sees research revealed that a drunk driver is 13 more prone to cause an accident compared to the sober one. Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin has ordered the Ministry of Transport to amend the Road Transport Act in 1987 Act 333 to impose heavier penalties on individuals convicted of driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. In this country, the biggest penalty that imposed is offenders are punishable under Section 44 of the Road Transport Act 1987, which carries a maximum fine about 10,000 ringgit and a maximum jail terms of 12 months. People will still drinking and driving because they can pay the penalties and do the same thing again. Maybe we can take other country law for our government to study the effectiveness of their imposed penalties on drunk driver in order to prevent those crimes. For example, in Taiwan, the offender that driving under influence of alcohol and causing death, and if the offender intends to cause the death, they will punish the convict by sentence to death. Other country penalty that we can take as example is in United Kingdom, they will sentence the offender if the accident were causing death for 14 years imprisonment, unlimited fine, and driving license suspend for 2 years. Malaysia is also known to be one of the most tolerant countries in the world in terms of the permitted blood alcohol content BAC limit. For your information, the higher the BAC will cause us insanity, slow reaction time, lack of coordination, reduced concentration, decreased vision, and inhibit judgment, especially after drinking. In Malaysia, to make someone accused driving under influence because of alcohol, the BAC meter must be under 0.08 and they don't allow to drive by themselves. Other countries like Taiwan and Japan have stricter their law by impose lower BAC than Malaysia from 0.05 until 0.03 to make their legally intoxicate. Not just impose strict law, Malaysia also need to lower their BAC limit to drink driving. It seems that only with such a heavy penalty will the public take the drunk driving offense seriously. The sale of alcohol beverage and liquor must also be restricted. In order to ensure the effectiveness of enforcement of the law, Malaysia should restrict the sale of alcohol beverage. Like New Zealand and Netherlands that enforce strict laws on alcohol sale. As we all know, the convenience store like 7-Eleven open their store 24 hours and people can buy booze anytime they want. Maybe the store can sell the booze for certain times only. Also, nightclubs that open until midnight has to make BAC inspection on their customers before they drive into their home. In short, from my speech, you all have known that why that drunk driving law should be stricter by Malaysia government. In conclusion, we have already talked about 3 reasons why drunk driving law should be stricter by the Malaysia government. Firstly, the statistic of drunk drivers accident is increasing. Second, drunk driving causes many deaths and damages. Third, penalty that imposed in Malaysia is not too strict. Accident cases involving drunk drivers causing of the death of others have been quite rampant of late, triggering a series of reactions, urging the government to address it by tightening the existing laws related to the offence. Tougher laws need to be introduced to safeguard innocent life. Meanwhile, for those who drink, don't drive and value your life. That's all for me. Thank you.